Hello friends, welcome to BAW Tech Nuggets. This is installation series, part 1, virtual machine setup. Let's create the virtual machine and I will be naming the virtual machine BAW20 Workflow Center. No need of PC, just a WFC. And just have game, we'll give the 152 because my IP ends with 152, just to differentiate from the other virtual machines. And guest compatibility, you can choose 6.7, and guest OS family is Linux and Linux CentOS 7. That's open source. And I will be giving the CPU to 5 and memory 20 gig, just to have sufficient memory for both Oracle database and PAW. And I'm giving 100 GB for the hard disk. And that should be it. Let's start installing the CentOS OS on this virtual machine. We need to give the location of the CentOS OS. So let's connect the CentOS OS installation media from the data store. So you can download CentOS OS from the from their website. It's open source and free of cost. So once you start set up that, power on the virtual machine. And here select install CentOS OS 7. I know it's pretty confusing. The white symbol, the white color highlighting the action. So press any key. So now we started the installation. Select language English, United States. Continue. Now you need to select the software. I mean, if you want to add any additional components to the OS, I'll be selecting the minimal software selection. Here, I will do, you know, manual partitioning because I want swap to be 20 gigs, which is required for the Oracle database installation. And I'll be selecting the partition scheme as LVM because if you choose LVM, later if you want to add more space to your drives, it will be easier with the LVM partitioning. So for boot, we'll select. Okay, first you can see that right now the available space is 995 KB. That's why it's not allowing me to change. So first I need to release some space from the home and the road. So from the home, I will be changing it to like a 15 gig. Once I update settings, so you can see the available space is now 24.18 gig. So now I can change the swap to 20 gig. I know it's very high for swap, but it's a requirement for the Oracle. I mean, there are other ways to you can create a swap file and then, but I just want to, follow the simple steps here. And the where I'm giving 8 gig. On point bias port, I will be giving like actually it 2 MB is sufficient, but you can change it to like 3 MB or 4 MB if you're not satisfied with that 2 MB. Next step is configuring the network and the host name. So I would like to use the host name, same name as my virtual machine, DAW20 WFC 150, and my domain name is 152, and my domain name is harishofisx.com, because my whole internet setup is under the one domain called harishofisx.com. So here I'll be setting static IPv4. I can select the manual, and the IP address would be 192.168.0.152, and net mask is 255.255.255.0, and the gateway, which is my router's gateway 0.1. And inside my intranetwork, I have a DNS server set up at 192.168.0.150, and my domain name is harishofisx.com. Actually, you can give the DNS server another DNS server, uh, which is your router's gateway. So I will be going and adding the DNS server, alternate DNS server, which is equivalent to my gateway. That means if your DNS lookup doesn't work within 150, then it will go for the router's gateway. So done. And software selection, debugging tools, compatibility libraries, development tools, security tools. I think that should be in our system administration tools, because I'll be adding other software in the same machine. That's why I'm selecting all these. I don't need any other software. I think SSH will come by default. You don't need to explicitly install it. So done. So now check for the installation source, whether it contains all the softwares we selected. So it seems everything is good. Now let's begin the installation. So date and time looks good. Now let's hit the installation. So you can set up root password as you wish. I'm going for the simple one, and I'll be selecting the user creation as BPM admin or BAW admin, and I want to make this user as administrator or sudo user. So password, and then click done. Now it will take some time for the installation, so I'll be pausing and speeding up the video. So now installation is complete. Click on reboot. So it will restart the machine. Now we need to do some post cloning post installation setup. Now I know the IP of my virtual machine, so I'll be SSHing it into it with the username as BPM admin, which is sudo user I created at the time of installation. Click OK. So it's asked for the key to download. Click yes. So it is taking some time. Yes, now it's logged in. So I'm checking the, whether it IP address is properly set up or not. So everything looks good here. So host name looks good. So let's say if I'm able to ping the other VMs in my intranetwork. So ping CentOS BAW 151. That's my other virtual machine. Obviously, it's not able to ping. The reason be the reason is we haven't made no this new virtual machine entry in our DNS system. So I'm not able to ping from the other machines and to this machine and from this machine to the other machines. So before doing that DNS entry, I want to check my network card whether it has all the configuration for the static IP. So you can see here it is manual and the gateway looks good. DNS1, DNS2, and search domain is harishf56.com. Okay, everything looks good. I don't want to do any modification. So if you have done any mistake during the installation, so you can come here and change the IP address and DNS, everything. Now I want to check the host name, host file. So here we need to do some modifications. So I'll change the loop back to so you need to be root in order to change that host file. So I'll be going into that file again with VI and give this snippet. Okay, so once you do that, uh, save it and exit out of that file. Now let's restart the network because we changed the host name, right? I just want to make sure it works even after changing the host file. And visual.conf file looks good. Here I'm installing necessary packages for X11 forwarding. I want to export the display to the on the Mobexter, the GUI when I'm installing Oracle and BAW. So give that command, and now these packages are installed. Now I want to update the system. So just give update command, so it will get the latest security patches. It will make your system up to date. So now it takes some time to complete the update. So now it's updated. So now I've went to my DNS server and make the entry for the newly created virtual machine. So I'm looking in the bind9 name.conf. So here you can see uh, my the IP address of the Binance server, and it accepts the queries from all the virtual machines within my intra network, and it has forward lookup and reverse lookup zone files. So we need to make entry in those two files in order to work your NS lookup properly. If you want to ping from other system to the newly created virtual machine and newly created virtual machine to the other systems. So I used to have another virtual machine with 152, but I decommissioned it. So now I'm making the entry for the newly created virtual machine. So first you need to give the virtual machine host name, complete host name with the dot at the end, and the virtual machine IP, which is 152. Now I need to do the same for the reverse lookup join file. So I already have 150 entry. I just need to change the host name with the newly created virtual machine, which is PAW20 WFC 152.reshow.com dot is compulsory at the end, otherwise it won't work. So now I'm done with the DNS. So let's see if we are able to ping from no, from 152 to 151 CentOS PAW 151. See, previously we could not ping, but now after making that entry, we can ping. That's good. Now let's see if NS lookup is working. Just want to know the FQD and with just IP. So similarly, you can do the other way. This. So now I'm giving the IP, sorry, FQD and or the host name, just host name to get the IP address of that virtual machine. So both forward lookup and reverse lookup are working fine. That's good. So now I'm going to SSH deconfig in order to allow the external forwarding. Which it allows to export you know the display from the virtual machine to the Mobexter or your you know uh, SSH client. So external forwarding, you need one command these two lines. That's are three lines. So since these are headless, you know, virtual machines, it won't have the display, the colorful display, right? So that's why you need to export sometimes when you're installing some software. So now that's done. So let me reboot the system. That's it, guys. This VM is ready for the installation of the Oracle